So, guys, today we have a new guest. He's never made it on the couch because he's always third pick. He's the least assertive. This is Mike Murphy, good old boy.
His head might not be in the shot.
Oh, Claire.
I don't know. Bridget, he's not the priority. He's very
Well-
cute and large and sweet, but he's not the priority.
He is keeping us at a good distance apart.
Yeah. I can't be too close. Oh my goodness. So guys, I told you she'd start crying. She wants a spot on the couch. Oosa baby. No room, honey. No room at the inn. So, episode 7 of Are You Okay? Welcome, everybody. We're happy to have you. I'm Claire, your host, here with my sister and co-host, Bridget.
Bubba Chugs!
No. Do you not watch these back and get embarrassed when you do this kind of
I
things?
always do, but then I forget. Claire, we have to do these weekly again because I only shower for the podcast. And it's been too long since the last podcast.
Yeah, it's been 2 weeks since the last podcast
It
was
takes me
filmed.
like 2 hours to get ready for these because I have to re-dye my hair, shower, get out the snarls.
It's not my responsibility to make sure you shower. If this is the only thing that's getting you to shower, that you need to reevaluate.
Well, I just started an anti-depressant, so maybe I'll start showering
Yeah, guys,
more.
Bridget's on meds. Bridget's on
Woohoo, drugs!
No. Calm down. It takes 2 weeks to kick in. She's being weird lately, and then she goes, "Oh, it's the meds," and I'm like, "No, doesn't.
It's day 2.
It takes more than 48 hours."
No, all it's done is give me the runs. Aggressively. I mean, I already have them often because I have irritable bowel syndrome.
So,
You want a drink? Blue Moon.
Thank you. Yes, I was going to maybe shotgun it. I thought about doing that for fun. But I was really, really bad at it back in the day. Like freshman year, I was like, oh yeah, I can drink a lot and I'm going to smoke cigarillos and shotgun this beer with Greg Zaransky. And then, then I would like spill it everywhere. And
Claire, we'd be burping the entire podcast.
yeah, no, I thought against it. I also think I'm coming down with some sort of illness.
I'm sorry.
So tell us about it. You've been on these for a few days now.
I have. Mary Grace, we got them the other day for the cookout at Mary Grace's house. And I first want to point out this color. I don't know if you can see it. The top of this can is like a blue purple. Irrelevant to the taste, but beautiful.
It is.
I think it's a good fake beer. It's kind of got the orangey hints that the real Blue Moon has, which is smart. This is a good non-alcoholic beer because it has other flavors other than the alcohol that it can kind of play into. Love them. They are kind of burpy. I don't know whether all beer was always this burpy and I'm just getting old and like more salty about it now, but I feel like non-alcoholic beer is more carbonated. I could be wrong, but I used to be able to have like 8 or 9 beers. Wasn't doing too well by the end, but I feel like after 2 or 3 of these, you can't really fit in your pants anymore.
Oh, interesting.
But I'd give this a solid 8.
Oh, yeah. Oh, me too. I love Blue Moons. I've always loved Blue Moons. And this is actually tastes better than a real one. I think it's the alcohol that I don't like the taste of.
every non-alcoholic drink you like better
I
than
like
the real?
better than the real one.
Wow.
Yeah.
Must be nice.
Well, I'm not saying I prefer it over an alcoholic beverage, but the taste,
Taste-wise.
it's good. I really like it. I think an 8 is pretty good, maybe a 9. And I'm with you. I love the color. I love the branding. I've always loved Blue Moon's vibe. It's good.
Good. Cool.
Cool. Fun. Very good. Nice. What else? What else? What else? There has to be more to our life than this. Oh, I got dragged all the way to the town over. 30-minute drive. I don't want to complain too much. It was a meeting with the local soccer team to do photo and video for them this year. I already knew it was going to be for free. It's freelance. It's not really
No,
freelance.
freelance isn't free.
It's just free. This is not freelance. This is just free. But whatever. You do what you can. I go to the racetrack all the time for free. You take photos and videos. You use it for your portfolio. You give them some of it. The racers love you. It's a great time. So I was going to do this for this local soccer club. Easy peasy. Hey, I'm free tonight. Hey, I'm not. Home game. Whatever. I'm going to shoot the game from the sidelines. But then I get an email from the owner and he's like, come on out. Let's go to Panera. Hope he doesn't see this. I drive 30 minutes.
I hope he does see it.
Yeah.
He needs to learn a lesson.
I drive all the way to Panera and He's 30 minutes, by the way, on an empty tank of gas. Like, I'm singing to Adele, looking at my little gasometer going, holy shit. Then I get there, I'm 10 minutes late, I sit down. He doesn't let me order anything. That's fine. I don't have that much time. Who cares? We chat for about 50 minutes. He talks the whole time.
No, if a meeting that long, you should have had 5 minutes to go get a drink.
Yeah. Little
Also,
spritzer.
I don't think you can just squat at Panera and use a table for free and leave. That's not what they have those tables there for.
That's true. We did squat. We talked. Well, he talked. And then he just kind of went on and on and on. And then basically was like, so how hard are you willing to work for free? And how often are you willing to work for free? Because you're super talented and I would like you around all the time for free. And I said, oh, sir,
Sounds cheap. I feel bad for his wife.
you got me all wrong. I will be showing up when I have time. And that's it. Boring story.
Sorry.
Well, it's boring. I get it. I'm bored.
I'm bored.
What else? Tell me about your week. You have a story?
Did I?
No, but I was hoping you would.
Oh my gosh. Since when do we talk about our weeks?
Well, what are we supposed to talk about? There's got to be something entertaining to share. Oh, I had a work trip.
True. That's
had-
probably why I had nothing happening this week because you were gone.
I was gone, yeah. So I had it was supposed to be a 36-hour work trip. Like you fly in, you work, you fly out that night. So I was like, whatever, let's go. I get there. It's been like a 12, 13-hour day. Get to the hotel. My supervisor's like, hey, the whole team's getting dinner at this steakhouse next door. You want to go? And I was like, sure. I get there. I did not prepare to be at a bougie steakhouse. So I'm wearing like ripped jeans and like a cropped hoodie. And I'm like, hi, everybody. And they're all like dressed to the nines. My steak was $60. People were drinking out of a $120 bottle of wine. These were the best vodka crayons I've ever had in my whole life. And it was lovely. It was great food. It was good company. It was fun. I was exhausted by the end. Anyway, good work trip. Then we go to work the next day. It's like another really long day, but it's good. It's good. It's good work. We get done what we need to get done. I just went through the pictures I took earlier today, and it turned out great, and I'm super happy with it. The videos turned out great, so I'm really happy with the work that I did. Then I get to the airport, right? I've been working kind of nonstop for a few hours. I'm still in my work clothes. I'm checking this 70-pound bag. It's just starting to feel like a little overwhelming. But I fly from Chicago into Atlanta. I get to Atlanta. I know I have 15 minutes to get to my flight. When I go to check my boarding pass on my phone while still sitting in the airplane in Atlanta, hoping to get a flight into Virginia, hoping to get to my flight into Virginia, I look down and they've already changed my flight till 8:20 the next morning. But I'm still like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to still book it for my gate. I get there and I'm like, sir.
And then you checked the computer and it was canceled.
Okay, it's getting exciting.
No, it's not. You had to stay at a hotel the night. You waited in a long line and your flight was delayed. It happens to thousands of people a day. It's getting better.
Never mind. The line, though, for the service desk
It was so long.
2 hours in that line. And it went all the way down the concourse. Like, holy shit, like 2 football fields.
No, I would have.
Anyway, got a hotel in a really rough part of Atlanta. Got 4 hours of sleep. Didn't have a change of underwear, so I wrapped.
Claire, no.
Don't tell this part of the story.
So I wrapped myself in a towel and said, sayonara, world. Better luck tomorrow. Gosh. Then the next day, got up, took a shuttle to the airport. Didn't have time to get breakfast.
I didn't. I know. I wasted my $24 food voucher. Today we're going to talk about how doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. And it's so cliche, but it's such a hopeful thing that honestly, you get in your own head and it becomes this mental battle where in reality, you're probably closer than you think to your goals, your plans, the life you want, your dreams. So we're going to have a positive take on life today and just think about, the lives that we're pursuing. And for anyone out there who's shooting for a different life than they have now, and sort of that gray area that can be incredibly difficult and incredibly painful between the life you have or had and the life you want and where you're headed.
Sounds good. It makes me think of the video you sent me. Were you going to bring this up?
Oh, no, you go for it.
Okay. I'm not a huge Candace Owens fan for a few reasons, but there's this video Claire sent me on Instagram. She was on some podcast with about like 50 other people.
I thought that was the Whatever podcast, but it wasn't.
No, I think she has done that too. But anyway, some other podcast. And she told a story about her best friend from high school growing up. They were in their early 20s. They somehow ended up at this club or party or something, and she said her friend just like chose the whole life and just started sleeping around with all these famous people and got like dropped out of school, got in a bougie apartment, all this stuff. And Candace would cry and just be like, all I had to do was sleep with this, you know, one guy or two famous guys, and I could drop out of school too. And it just seems so unfair, which it does often seem unfair. The grind seems unfair. If you're not, you don't know somebody, you're not already rich, you aren't selling your soul. There are many, many, many thankless. I mean, no matter what you're pursuing. I mean, I think about the people that have tried to lose weight and just can't seem to do it. It's just, life's tricky. Anyway, back to the story. Candace is telling the people on this podcast that she was, just kind of bemoaning that this friend seemed to have all the luck just because she was willing to kind of be a hoe.
What?
Anyway, Candace is telling the story. She has this friend. Her friend becomes a hoe. Everything starts getting paid for. Candace is still in school, broke as a joke, sleeping in her car, apparently, sleeping on people's couches. We've been there. Anyway, she says that she had some friend that said, like, do you really think in 10 years she's going to be doing better than you are? And she said, sure enough, she's at some event 10 years later. She walks into this bougie hotel, and her friend is the hostess at this hotel that Candace is staying at, which is really sad for her friend. Like, that's just so sad. That whole thing is so sad.
I mean, honestly, the slow and steady
Wins the race.
Slow and steady wins the race, which I've been saying
Can't quit.
No, we look for instant gratification all the time. We look for the quick fix. Good things take time, And I think that's what we forget. There is a requirement typically of effort and work and years of grinding to get to that next point, to that next goal or that next dream. And not everyone out there is ambitious, and that's fine. Because I think some people are born with an ambition, or their lives sort of mold them into having ambition, or they want more or something better. I think it's just sometimes intrinsically in some people, and that's fine. Because this isn't a knock at people who are content with the life they have.
No,
that might
good.
Right, that might not appear particularly like ambitious, but if you're not content with your life, that's where you're going wrong, and you need to pivot and make new decisions and make changes so that you're starting to live the life that you can be at peace with. And that's the most challenging part, is that when you decide, hey, I'm at that fork in the road and I've got two options here. One of them is really well lit. It's a path that you can kind of see, 50 years into the future where it's going to lead. It's familiar. There's people on that path that It's already kind of, marked along the way for you, and it's comfortable, and you can it's predictable, and that's kind of a safe, comfortable place to be. Or it involves some things that aren't safe or healthy, but it's your coping mechanism, or you're attached to that person.
It's the devil you know.
It's the devil you know. And then there's this, at the fork in the road, there's the other option, which is completely blank. And the perk is that anything is possible. The pain is that you have to do it all yourself. And that path is dark, it's uncharted. There's no trail marker. There's very few lights along the way, very few other people on that path. Most of them you don't know, or you don't know yet. Now, anything is possible, but the effort, the work, the requirement, the loneliness, the fear, the doubt. I mean, can you see how much more intense that decision is? Now, anything is possible. You just can't quite see it yet. So you have to have the vision for it before it's there, because
Right.
you have to make that way yourself. And those beginning stages are really, really tough, because you can turn around and still see the well-lit other option that's cozy, warm, and familiar. And it's brutal, but you have to keep taking steps into that unknown. So it's the crossroads. And our cousin's boyfriend was like giving me a pump up speech a few weeks ago. And he was like, it's your ace of spades. It's that moment in your life where it's your biggest test, and don't be deceived, and you have to make that decision. So that kind of plays into that, a little bit. But it's a painful kind of in between, between like leaving that warm, familiar path and starting to kind of tread that new one.
Yeah, no, it's very vulnerable. A lot of unknown, like you said. I liked what you said about vision, because if you don't know what you're doing or where you're headed, it's very, very easy to get lost or scared, or, to just quit. And I think they've done studies. I just made that up about studies.
No, you're right. I know what you're going to say. Basketball.
Nope.
Oh, really? Okay.
What are you going to say?
Remember you you told me about this. We were like 12, and you were like the basketball players who visualized making free throws, the ones who practice, and the ones who didn't practice or visualize, and the ones who envisioned making free throws but didn't practice did better than those who
Yeah.
like just practiced or yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's not what I was going to say, but that actually probably does better than what I was about to say. I remember in watching Unbroken, which it's based on the book, and the book is a true story about Louis Zamperini. He was a Olympian, gets drafted into World War II, and then gets captured and treated horribly because he was famous, and the Japanese wanted to use him for propaganda, and he refused. But there's a part when his plane first goes down, and he's with two of his fellow soldiers, and one of them he's close friends with, and the other is just this coward. Like, and understandable. I mean, I don't know how I would be in that situation, but I mean, he literally died
on the
on the
raft.
raft.
Right.
And he had eaten all the rations and drank a ton of the water, like I think the first night, because he was completely panicked. So he left these guys with almost no nutrition, but because his mindset was so failure oriented, like body follows mind. And I know too that story of the guy, I forget what it's called, 72 hours or something. This guy gets his hand, also a true story, gets his hand stuck in between these two rocks, and he's quickly fading, can't get out, and he has this vision of a young daughter running toward him, and he wasn't married, didn't have kids, and so he used a pocket knife and like cut his own hand off because he had the vision of what he had to live for. Obviously very extreme examples, but it's just so important, mind over matter, because if you're on a path and you don't know what the future holds, and we really don't, like the results, I mean, this podcast could be our friends for a couple years and it could take off, or whatever. Anything is kind of a mystery until you reach
Whatever.
wherever you reach. But and that's where trusting God is huge, because the results are really his business if you're doing your very best, and you can just trust and sleep at night having left it all on the field. It's a lot like sports. Like you can practice and train and visualize and believe and do your very best, and then at the end of the day, whether you win or lose is you know, yeah, how everybody else played too. But anyway, yeah, vision I think is huge in success of any type, even if it's not like these grand ambitions.
Right. And you have to keep that in mind, because often the big things in life, they're created by a bunch of tiny things. Right. So in 10 months, I went from 135 pounds of nothing to 155 pounds of solid muscle. This happened back in like 2018. I was a different person physically in 10 months' time. But that was really the result of so many meticulous, tiny little workouts, rep after rep after rep. You would never get to that end result without all the little tiny days in between. And that's how every goal is. Most goals in life require the little moments, which are they go unseen, they go unpraised, they go unknown, and you're just kind of battling them day in and day out. And this goes for your big dreams and your ambitions and your goals and your plans, but it also goes for those little battles and those little struggles and the overcoming the addictions or the coping mechanisms or trying to break the habits that you have that keep you locked in people pleasing or in, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be these huge, massive things. It can be as simple as weight loss or trying to get in shape or, any real goal to improve the quality of your life requires tiny steps that end up having big results. It's a few less calories a day for you to lose a pound in a week, or you know what I mean? So we think it's supposed to just be instant, and it's really rarely works that way.
Well, and I think one of the problems with reality TV and Instagram is you watch a reel where at the beginning of the reel, literally a minute long reel, the person's 300 pounds, and by the end they're in great shape. Or you watch Biggest Loser, My 600 Pound, any of these shows, honestly, where like you start out with like a shitty restaurant and then they remodel it, and then you get this false sense. First of all, I think there's dopamine in watching that kind of thing happen. So like you already feel like you've accomplished something just watching it, which is fake news. You haven't accomplished anything. And you just kind of have this mentality that these things happen quick. The results are quick. It's like, no, people who are really big, have to work out and arduously count their calories probably for 6 months before they even feel or look noticeably different at all. So I think we're culturally just kind of conditioned more and more so for the instant hit, the instant success. And that is just not real life, at least not for most of us.
No, which is why your why has to be important, and you have to kind of be maybe enjoy to some extent or be motivated by and moved by what you're doing over and over and over and over again. So if you're losing weight, that why has to be really powerful and that end goal has to be really clear.
But also the propis.
The what?
Trying to say process.
The process.
But everything you were saying made me think of purpose. The process. Like, you have to be able to enjoy the journey in itself, which is harder when you're on a path that's dark and you're a little freaked out.
Yeah. And again, if you're at peace with your life, it's just, you don't need to go be ambitious and crazy. My ambitions are pretty big, but at the same time, like, I just want to make sure I'm like at peace with myself. And if I'm not pursuing the things I love and care about and I'm passionate about and these goals I've always had, I'm not at peace with myself. And that for me, that means there's work that needs to be done. There's effort that needs to be made. But I was thinking today, you have to live like you have the life you want. So when you get there, you want the life you have. You have to live like you have that life already. You have to live like you have the life you want.
What do you mean by that?
It's lonely, and there's no proof right now that the things I'm pursuing even exist or are going to be successful or they're going to lead me to the goals that I have. But I have to act like they do. That vision sometimes has to be, okay, you got to live your life like you have what you want. Then someday you're going to get there and you'll be like, I want what I have. This is what I've always wanted. I finally have what I want. And I think Mel Robbins, she's like, I'm not sure her credentials, but she talks on this. It's sort of like, you got to start living like you're already there. You know, and if you're out of shape and you want to get in shape, you got to start going to the gym like you're in shape.
Right.
Get that program.
Right.
Build that confidence. Get that consistency going. Eat the right foods. Wear the right clothes. Drink the right protein shakes if you can obviously afford the things to support yourself like that. But you have to start being that person. What's his name? Chris. He's cute. He does all those motivation videos. Has a little bit of a lisp, buzz cut. I think his name is Chris.
The Australian guy?
Is he Australian? You know, he was on Love is Blind. I mean, he was on Love Island before he became like
The guy who's on all the alpha motivation?
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yes. And he's like the first season of Love Island UK, I think. Is that crazy?
He does look really familiar.
Yeah.
Huh.
Is that nuts?
Wow. Good for him.
Yeah. But he was saying like if you're faking bravery, that's brave. You know what I mean?
Bravery is not feeling courage. It does not mean the lack of fear. If you don't have fear, there's no courage required.
Yeah.
You're just brazen or whatever. Like, bravery requires a certain level of like facing fear and feeling it and then choosing to do the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. We had this, she wasn't really a friend. She was kind of just like a schoolmate, and I won't say her name, but she was like very pretty, very talented, multi-talented individual, had a lot of capabilities, but she would automatically like just reject herself before the world rejected her. So she would like play sports with like a kind of laziness, or she would like,
I didn't know who you meant until you said that.
I know. I knew you'd know. But we would use her name as like,
don't blank this.
Yeah, don't blank this.
Yeah.
Don't be like her.
No, because I remember at school, I mean, we went to a small school. There was a whole group of us that kind of did this thing. It was like the cool sporty girls. Cool is maybe not the right word.
Sporty is not the right word.
Yeah, wannabes in every way. But like, it was cooler not to try. We all had the messy buns, and like I think half of us were wearing like boys' pants that we got from Walmart. Like, yeah, just sloppy. And then I mean, my last soccer game ever, we ended in a tie, but we would have won this game if this girl had shown up. I mean, she was a talented player. And I just remember just being like, what a freaking waste. And it helped me to see what a bad look it was. Because we were all kind of doing a similar thing of just like,
act like you're not trying so that
when you fail, no one thought you were trying to succeed.
Cared. Yeah. And that's I know we have that issue a lot. It's like,
I really do. Well, I think I've tried to not do that quite as much, but
we've come a long way.
In college, that was the big. I mean, if you make yourself a clown or if you talk down to yourself, then when it's inevitably a failure, no one will think. Which is just a joke because first of all, just swallow your pride. It's such like a gross. Like, just shut up. If you're gonna be that way, just like don't talk, and like maybe don't even play. Like just get on the bench. But also, if you show up, the likelihood is you're not going to, especially if you show up consistently and you show up for yourself, even if you don't believe you're going to do well, history would show you're not going to fail as much or as miserably as you would if you're just going in there being like, oh yeah, I freaking suck. It's just like, well, I used to do that all the time in school. And it was just so, looking back, I'm like, ew.
Yeah. Well, an effort is a victory in itself. People don't realize that. Effort is confidence.
People do realize that. If you watch someone play a sport and that team loses, or even if it's an individual race and that person loses, but you can tell that they left it all out, there's not a soul in the building that's like, what a freaking joke. It's like
Right.
there is, I mean, there's almost more respect for someone, especially an underdog, who's putting it all out there, whether they win or not.
Yeah. There's confidence in effort. And I think we don't put those words side by side a lot, but like it takes confidence to put an effort because I think it's
Yes.
so much easier just to be like, I'm going to half ass this or I'm going to reject this before it rejects me. I'm
Well,
going
it's
to,
vulnerability. The
yeah,
the idea of being wounded or looking weak is so scary that yeah, people would rather not put themselves in that position. Which
yeah,
again, like we said, even if that is your concern, optically it looks better to try than to be a joke.
yeah, yeah.
But
And
yeah, I mean it's
yeah.
even making this podcast a little like, oh, what are people gonna think? And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
first of all, you just reach a point where you're like, I don't really care that much what people think. But yeah, there's a little bit of like, do we look like we're trying to become
Yeah, like are we trying too hard so that when this inevitably fails, it's not super cringe? But at the same time, I'm really proud of this effort. I'm really proud of our effort.
Yeah.
And like, okay, this succeeds or this fails. This gets 900 views. This gets 21 views. I'm proud of our effort, and that's kind of how I feel. I remember I would posting a lot of content on Instagram last year, and they don't do that great. Nothing does great, especially in the beginning. But I was really proud of what I was producing, like very proud. And it was like that was enough. Whether it got 1 like or 1,000 likes, if I produce it and I put it out there, that means I'm proud of it. And that's enough. And so
Yeah.
you have to get to that point with your life where you're like, I'm proud of this. I'm proud of who I am. I'm proud of how I'm dressing, or I'm proud of the career I have, or I'm proud of the effort I'm making, and like you become what do they say? Like confidence is proof that you are who you say you are and you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And
Yeah.
like confidence is just a habit.
Showing up
For yourself,
consistently.
really. So that you show up for yourself or you pursue what you love and care about and you do it well, like that's going to create confidence. And that's something you can be proud of, whether it does well or not. So it's so ironic that like we either, oh, I'm going to reject this before it rejects me, and I'm going to look like I'm not trying that hard, so that when I'm inevitably failing, it doesn't look so bad.
Right.
And it's like, whoa, a little bit of confidence in you, a little bit of pride in what you're doing, a little bit of effort. You can't fail, because even if it does, like on paper, fail, that's success in itself. Like that's
Well, and you
beauty.
tried the damn thing. Like I think that about broadcasting. I almost went to college, or I was thinking about going to college for broadcast journalism. Didn't end up doing that. 10 years later, get a job doing the news. Realize I hate it. Like, okay, did not go the way I wanted. Put me in debt. There was a lot of like having to take 3 steps back and try to regain momentum, and I'm still kind of dealing with the fallout of that. But I can look back and be like, well, I tried it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know. You have to be able to put yourself out there and be willing to try. And I think some of the people I respect most in the world in sports, it's really mostly coming to mind in sports, but even just people I know individually, they were not afraid to look to lose, I guess,
Yeah.
is the right way of putting it. You know,
Yeah.
they weren't afraid to go out. And I would say at least half the time they don't completely flop, you know? Like
Yeah.
usually people do okay for themselves if they're consistent. And I think too, if you have a meaningful why, it has to be meaningful. I already feel like we've touched a few people with this, and it certainly has helped me to get into these conversations with people. So if you have a more like one-on-one, like even if it's one person who feels seen or heard or this inspired or whatever it might be, like that's enough. And then you can hang your hat on it, and then you keep going for the bigger goals. And you know, it'd be great if this kind of a thing paid our bills, but that stuff really is,
Secondary.
and just out of our hands to an extent.
Yeah. Pick your pain. I've said this before. Pick your pain. Because you either pick the pain you're in or you pick the pain that gets you out of it. That's your option, because there's suffering always, all the time, everywhere. Lots of options for how you can suffer. So you want to pick the pain that you're dealing with, you want to pick the suffering you're dealing with, or the pain that gets you out of where you're at. And that's like working out is tough, but so is being out of shape. Eating right is tough, but so is eating poorly. You know what I mean? Going to therapy is tough, but so is struggling with your mental and psychological issues forever.
Right.
You know what I mean? Chasing the dream is tough, but so is being in a relationship with somebody who isn't treating you right, and you get caught in that for way too long, and you put all your dreams on the back burner, and you fall apart, and you know what I mean? Like pick your pain.
Yeah.
Pick which suffering you're going to do.
Yeah.
And look at where it's going to lead you eventually.
Right.
There's pain in the beautiful and the successful and the healthy and the healing and the growing, and there's pain in the staying and the sitting in your muck and the feeling sorry for yourself and the victimization. And yeah, so pick
Well, and
one.
like we said last week, the former allows you to get out and get better and love and serve, and then the
Yeah.
latter, it's not just your pain and misery, like you're bringing everybody around you down. I really truly think that courage is a huge part of this because living is hard. Stay alive and wake up and like choose to put on your big girl or big boy pants every day. There'll be days you need to be held, and that's okay. But like, we could make the difference. All of this is hard. Addiction's hard. Healing's hard. I think a lot of us, I've done this for so long. I would make a list. I would have all the gumption and good intention in the world. And like, if you're stuck, you're stuck. And addiction, you really can't do it alone. I mean, every recovery program based on the 12 steps will tell you, like, if you're doing this on your own, you're going to relapse. Like, so a lot of it does require help. Know your people. They don't have to be a lot of them, but like, and I mean it when I say to people, like, you can DM us and like we will do our best to at least point you in the right direction because we can't do this stuff alone. And I think a lot of people who quit, just quitting on yourselves in general, whether it be large scale and extreme or small scale, it is that like vulnerability, that path, that dark path of unknown is empty. And it's scary, or there's no one there, and like there are people and there are resources, and we can do this thing, and we have to do this thing because this is not our home. But in the meantime, let's fucking sack up and do it well.
Yeah. And I've said this before, but you don't need to be an optimist, but you can't lose hope. And there's a difference.
Yes.
It's not all sunshine and
I
rainbows.
think John Paul II said that.
Oh, really?
There's a difference between optimism, which is it's a great thing. It's a gift, but it's kind of more of a feeling.
Right.
And hope, which is a choice.
Right. And hope can come from two things. Hope comes from God, like always, because God is good all the time, right? And all the time God is good.
And all good things come
And
from him.
all good things come from him. And I'm not over here like shish bamboo ba kind of Christian, right? I'm a piece of shit, but I still believe
Shisham Shumba.
whatever. I was gonna say kumbaya, but I didn't want to be.
Shalom.
Oh,
Are you
good Lord.
Jewish?
No, what are you doing?
Shisham Shumba. Rosh Hashanah.
What?
Is this disrespectful?
Absolutely, it is. I'm not like a cis boom ba Catholic, right? Like or Christian. Like I'm
Right.
a little rough around the edges, but I still believe in God, and He never stops working, even if you stop. He doesn't turn if He's running towards you, even as you turn away and run in the other direction. Like God is all the time. All the time God is. So if He exists, there's hope. And then the second place where hope can come from is yourself. And that comes from confidence. That comes from effort. That comes from habits that you do over and over again until you've proven to yourself that's who you really are. There's hope in yourself as well. You have to build that up a bit. And that's courage, that's confidence, that's effort, that's discipline.
Well, it's virtue. It's like you're doing the thing enough times. That's what virtue is. Like it's good habits. Which is hard if you're starting at ground zero, which I often feel like I am. You know, especially when you try a venture and it fails, you're like, oh my gosh, like something's wrong with me, you know? And if you don't have a lot of pre-existing discipline to fall back on, it can be really disorienting because you're just like grasping again for the beginning. But there is a beginning. And he, like you said, God is always, always, always wanting to take us back in. And Saint Therese says, like, we are children at the bottom of a staircase. All a good father is waiting for is a child to call out to him, and then he's going to bring the child up the stairs, you know? Mm-hmm, so just really making, and the 12-step program, I've said this before, it is about surrendering to a power greater than ourselves and being like, we can't do this on our own. Mm-hmm. We can't. Mm-hmm. And even if you try and you do, you're going to be alone because you're going to just be pure grit.
Find your grit.
You're saying get earlier and you're going, get help, get.
Was I really?
I don't know what the words are after, but you're saying get.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
It's funny.
What accent is that? Get Michigan. Get Wisconsin.
Oh,
the states Michigan. That should be absolutely axed from the United States. Watcha. Bye, Michigan.
Okay, Songbook Cinema.
Okay, so I have a book this week, which is crazy. I never thought we'd see this day, but I'm a big fan of autobiographies and memoirs, especially when my life is a little feels out of sorts. I find a lot of comfort in like reading about somebody else's life, especially if it's someone I admire. Like I admire their work, if they're an actress or a comedian or a songwriter or an athlete. I've read so many athletes' memoirs. So I've probably read 30, 40, 50 memoirs in my life because I just find them so comforting. The shittier the person's life, usually the more entertaining. So if you're looking for some tea, Hope Solo's memoir is amazing. Ronda Rousey. These people have just been through it a bit. I haven't read theirs in years, so maybe I would feel differently now. But I am currently reading Amy Poehler's autobiography called Yes Please. I know you have your own feelings on her. I really became a fan of her just from Parks and Rec. She's like the main character in Parks and Rec. I love that show. I have so much affection for that show. So I was just interested to see what her story was all about. I've never like really paid attention to her on Saturday Night Live or all the millions of other things she's probably done. So it's just one little thing. But anyway, it's just fun to get the inside scoop on like people's journeys and people's lives. And she's like way more down to earth than maybe I thought she would be. I find she's like giving a lot of like cool, grounded, down to earth advice. And then her story is very interesting. And she's seemingly had a kind of beautiful, dynamic, entertaining life. So it's just been kind of fun to get lost in that every once in a while. So yeah.
Cool. Gosh, I don't know if I've had a very media heavy couple weeks. I did watch what was it called? Apple Doesn't Fall
Oh,
on
yes.
Peacock. It's like this mom goes missing. You're trying to figure out if the dad killed her or this like homeless girl they took in killed her. And then at the end, she was just salty and like ran away for 10 days. And then she gets in this car accident going like 80 miles an hour and walks away unscathed. And I was like, this was the stupidest ending I've ever. Yeah, it was dumb. Don't recommend it. But the episodes leading up to the ending were very interesting, and then the ending was sloppy. It was a Game of Thrones ending, but
Ugh,
um,
cop out.
yeah, I don't really have a lot to tell you.
That's okay. We already kind
Farmer
of.
Wants a Wife.
Yeah, I
I
can't
think
watch
most
that.
of those girls are on there for Instagram. It's so fruity. They're like, we're from New York City, but yeah, we'd move to a farm for the right man.
For the right man, I would muck shit into big piles.
Yeah, they're wearing like just the most stereotypical like overalls, but just like one overall hooked, and they're like like picking up poop, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is despicable.
Ew.
Cringe.
Ew. And I don't like the guys.
Find some grit.
Ew.
I liked two of the guys this year. One of the guys, I was just like, ugh, he deserves the influencer he's probably gonna pick in the end. I'm sure they'll last 2 minutes till she misses LA or whatever her hair products.
When she misses Tresemme. Tresemme, the hairspray. Okay. I think we're done. Let's go eat some ice cream cake and
Is
watch.
there a lot left?
There's enough for you and I to have some pretty massive slices.
Aw,
yeah. Why are you spreading onto me? Guys, thank you so much for watching episode 7 of Are You Okay? We're so glad you could be here or listening if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you are watching on YouTube, please consider subscribing. It helps us a lot and helps you find the channel again in the future because apparently it's a little tricky to find us. Also, we're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, the audio version. You can consider following, leaving a 5-star review or a 1-star review if you think we're absolute shit. No, hey, we like honesty. We really, really do. I love honesty. Honesty's my favorite. And we just really appreciate you guys being here. And we'll see you very soon for episode 8. Say bye. Bye. Oh, my son of a bitch.